A woman came up to me and she said, Reverend Barker, I really felt the Spirit of God in your ministry. I think you did. Anyway, in January of '84, I sent out a letter to everyone I could think of, friends, co-missionaries, Christian publishers. I wrote Christian music. I'm still getting royalties today. In fact, I have a check in my wallet from a Christian publisher from royalties that I got from one of my Christian musicals. It's still selling, which is weird. So I sent out the letter. Yeah, I sent out the letter in 1984, and then what do? So I had to scramble. It's tough. I'm now working with the Clergy Project, if you know what that is. Richard Dawkins, Daniel Dennett, Linda Lascola, and others of us put together this thing. There are now 400 clergy in the Clergy Project. A fourth of them are still active. They're ordained ministers or priests or rabbis who have abandoned their faith. We don't say that we lost our faith, we threw it away. It's not like we lost it. It's not saying, oh, I lost my cancer, But so I was one of those having to scramble, having to find a way to make a living. I was reading books. I read a book written by a young woman named Annie Gaylord about women in the Bible. And so I sent her a letter. She didn't answer it, but her mother did. She said, write us an article. And then I got a call from Chicago, from the producers of the show, hosted by a woman named Oprah Winfrey, saying, she's going to do a show about atheism. Would you like to come and be a guest? Because Ann said, this guy's got a good story. He was a preacher, now he's an atheist. So I flew to Chicago, and not only was that the very first time I had publicly spoken about my atheism before an audience, which was weird, because just 9 months earlier I had been preaching. It was the first time I'd ever spoken before a hostile audience, and I loved that. That was like, wow, you can actually say something that makes it different. It was great TV. Oprah had packed that audience with Bible thumpers. It was really good. And I could see from the video that I was kind of like groping for words, which today just flow naturally. But I was thinking it through, and that was also the very first day that I met Annie Laurie and her mom. We met for that show. And a couple of years ago, I found the VHS of that show, and we put it online just a few months ago. So if you want to see it, go online to look for it. It's a 1984, and you can kind of see me and Annie Laurie looking at each other, kind of. We showed it to our daughter Sabrina last year, the day her parents met, and Sabrina was laughing, not so much at how young we look, the black hair and all that, but that audience. She couldn't believe an audience would be like that. But anyway, ever since then I've been working. I worked as a volunteer for a while. In 1987, Annie Laurie and I got married and then we became co-presidents of the National Freedom from Religion Foundation, which works to keep state and church separate and to educate the public about the views of non-believers. So atheists, agnostics, humanists, secular humanists, whatever we call ourselves, we don't care. We all disbelieve in the same God, so it doesn't matter. We take lawsuits. We have 11 lawsuits in the courts right now, federal level to state level. In fact, we solve a lot of state church problems without going to court. Last year we had over 2,000 complaints. We now have 4 full-time attorneys. We sent out more than 1,000 letters and had 152 actual victories without going to court, which is pretty neat. Any one of those could have been a lawsuit, but our attorneys work really hard. And so, stopping prayer before city councils, religion in the schools, you name it, and suing the president over the National Day of Prayer, and we're suing the IRS over tax breaks that churches get. So watch that. And we also. When I was a minister, I used to take one of those tax breaks. You may not know that every minister, clergy, rabbi, priest in the country right now gets to exclude their housing as income. Did you know that? Their housing, their house payment or their rent, they don't have to include that as income. It lowers their tax liability. Wouldn't you love to have a break like that? Coming up on April 15th, right? I used to do that. It's not an exemption, it's not a deduction, it's an exclusion. You don't even have to say it that you had it, as long as the church organization pass a resolution for that. So in order for us to get standing to sue the IRS on that, what we think is unconstitutional because it's preference to religion, because a lot of non-religious charities are doing good work, right? The Freedom from Religion Foundation declared for me and Annie Laurie a housing allowance. And it doesn't change our salary or anything, but we now have a housing allowance which we cannot exclude from our income. When I used to work for God, I was getting this break, but now that I'm working for the Freedom from Religion Foundation, I don't get it. So does that show injury? Does that show standing? In fact, the judge agreed with us not too long ago, about 2 months ago. The judge says, yeah, you do have standing to sue because you can show there's a discrimination. So we also educate the public. We publish books. We have a newspaper. We have a national radio show called Free Thought Radio, which broadcasts in a number of markets, and also podcasts. This week I interviewed Neil Shubin. Do you know who that is? He wrote the book Your Inner Fish, fascinating book about how we're related to cousins to other species. His newest book, The Universe Within, about how we're related to the entire universe, which is evolving. So, we publish books about non-theism, atheism, agnosticism, morality without God, and we do music. We have musical CDs, and I'm really excited. This is brand new. This is our third full CD of music, free thought, secular, atheist music. And I'm especially excited because the first song on here is called Poor Little Me. A year and a half ago at our convention in Connecticut, we gave an award to Charles Strauss. You know who that is? Charles Strauss, the musicians. He's the songwriter. He's still alive. He's in his 80s. He's the songwriter who wrote Annie and Bye Bye Birdie. He wrote a lot of the wonderful music. You know, Put on a Happy Face. He even wrote the All in the Family theme. You know, those were the days. We gave him an award. He's a lifelong atheist and a civil rights activist and all that. And he says, "It's so great to be in a room with other atheists. I didn't know about that." So we were talking about atheist songwriters during dinner before the award. Richard Rogers and Gib Harburg and the Gershwins and Jerome Kern and Irving Berlin and Burton Lane and all these people that he was friends with these people. And